welcome. I am KRAFTYZEE. You're in my craft lab currently, and here we are. I'm actually working on a project, and I decided I wanted to share with you guys. But what I realized was I don't really have anything on my YouTube video, and I was trying to figure out more or less what I really wanted the theme of the YouTube channel to be. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know what I want to do. And then I was like, well, you know, I do knitting, I do crochet, I do jewelry, I do painting. And I'm like, okay, well, why don't I just put that, you know, instructional videos on my YouTube channel? And I was just like, well, YouTube is completely saturated with do-it-yourself stuff. And it's like, well, why add another one, right? I know in certain cases it's like, well, I do my own thing, so I'm an individual, and there's nobody else that can do what I do. But eventually it's just like, well, you want to stand out. And then I was like, well, actually I really don't care. Like, I'm not really concerned whether I stand out or not. I'm just going to be me, you know, and my creativity is an individual all its own. So I decided to do my channel on whatever I felt like. Go figure, right? So here in front of me is a display stand and a couple of items here. What the YouTube video that you're looking at is for not necessarily just vendors or artists. I guess it's more or less for anyone who's found themselves in a position of diversity or adversity, for the most part, my apologies, to where they feel like they're being discouraged based on a goal that they have. I guess more or less this is a theme, and also a lesson, a life lesson. Don't be discouraged about hurdles that are placed in your path. Just endure and overcome. So in front of you, as you can see, again, is a display. My display, I was super excited about them because they're wood, as you can see. And this is a necklace stand, or bust, so to speak, and has these little pegs. Depending on the size of the necklace, it actually holds a couple. Like, this is a really good product. And it's a stand. So what happened was, if you can see the color here, obviously, it's white. Because of its whiteness, it makes it really susceptible to different scratches and stuff. So if you can see here, on these little parts, I kind of colored it already, or painted over just now. But let me move this. You see them? There. It's here. They're little scratches that go along the top and a little speck. I didn't want to not use this, but the concept is the scratches are very blatant because it's a white display and it doesn't look professional. So let me see if I can grab something to display here so you know what I'm talking about. Here's a necklace. And you see, I'm so like anal when it comes to how things look as far as visually. So here, you see the little specks here. It's a little distracting from what the design itself is, and I didn't want it to be like that. So my goal originally was to weatherproof this display, considering it's solid wood, but unfortunately that didn't work out. So it ended up in the process of me vending while packaging or storing, it got scratched. So what I'm doing is I'm restoring the item. As you can see, it's in really good condition. In some cases, it doesn't always work out that way. Some things you have that are just old. But I don't want you to feel like you have to toss it. As an artist and as a vendor, every penny counts, and you don't want to invest in something that's not going to recoup itself. Some things are just pleasurable, where it's like, you know what, I'm just gonna pay. I know it's not worth, you know, the long term, but it's short term satisfaction. So that's okay. But in this case, I wanted this to last, so I decided I'm gonna restore it. In this instance, as you can see, it has that wood grain going, and it has like a white finish. So what I decided is I'm going to darken it slightly, because this is display. I don't necessarily need it anymore for my vending table, but I do teach classes on Saturdays at Hobby Lobby from 3 to 5 p.m. Plug anyway. But I do teach classes, and I wanted to use this as a replacement for the display I had before. And let me go get that so you can see it. So you have a comparison. It's this white one. Now, it's not white anymore, and it's felt or velvet, somewhat velvet, which means it attracts a lot of lint. It is a great display. As you can see, it came from Michael's, as well as this. This was the upgrade, but it's a nice display, but unfortunately it takes up a lot of lint. So by environmental, for me, it's not lucrative. It's something that you would have to take off the lint. You'd have to brush it down. It just takes up too much time when it comes to vending. So I decided to change the order and just do the wood item to make it easier for me. So it doesn't need any cleaning. It's just pull it out, put it up, see there, put it down, packed. Same purpose, different quality. So what I have in front of me is the display. I have a brush, a paintbrush. Any paintbrush will do for the most part. I have a little cup of water here. I have my paint colors. So this is the color I used. It's multi-surface satin, multi-surface acrylic paint. It's a vanilla shake color. Trying to match the color of the wood grain without being too white. I didn't want it to be stark white, as far as like just chalk white, but I wanted it to have a little tint. That way I can lighten up the black spots on here. So again, it's Americana multi-surface satin paint. I also have Martha Stewart's multi-surface satin paint in, what color is this one? Root Beer Float. It's like a brown, but as you can see, it'd be a good tint for this. And then I have an effect here, because as you can see, it has that wood grain concept. And once I paint over it, it won't have that wood grain effect, not necessarily. So it's just a matter of putting the same effect on there. So if you can see, what I'm trying to do is keep the wood grain look. And I'm accomplishing that by using Tintable Antique Effect from Martha Stewart, and it's mixed together. So the paint plus the medium equals that effect. If you can see it here, you see it, and that's that same effect that's in, a similar effect that's in the stand itself. So here we go, and we're back. So here is a regular white sheet of paper. It's cost effective in certain instances where instead of having a paint canvas, like a solid paint canvas or a paint palette, I'm actually just using the paper. So it helps me with cleanup, because my paint palettes, when I'm teaching the kids over at the Clanton Road, Arbor Glen Outreach Center. When I'm working with them, those palettes are really takes time to clean. So instead of doing that, I'm simply folding a paper, a regular printer paper, any white paper, or you can just use old notebook paper if you want to be a little more upcycled, is to just fold it in fours. And each time I use a section, I'll just flip it. Use the section, flip it again, and I can just continue to use the one section here and switch up periodically. So I already have a little bit of paint here. Let me get my Martha Stewart out. When painting anything, you don't need a lot. A lot of people just drip a whole lot of paint out of their container. It's not necessary. If you're using quality paint, or in certain cases even, and like just cheap paint, most paint, like these kind of paints are pretty cost effective. There's like $1.99, anywhere from $1.50 to $4 for a container or a paint tube. So you don't really need anything extra fancy. You could just utilize those. And these are multi-surface paints, so you know that it doesn't matter what surface. I buy multi-surface paint because it's cost effective for me in my painting. I paint wood, I paint glass, I paint fabric. And I want to know and make sure that whatever paint colors I have, I don't have to duplicate them. So I don't have to buy one specifically for glass and then one specifically for wood. As you can see here, there's a little emblem on the top. It has multi-surfaces. So it makes things so it's metal, wood, and glass, and other surfaces. It's a better paint buy compared to just plain old acrylic. Because at least you know the finish will be proper. So here it is. I'm cleaning off my paintbrush here. Okay. And I'm going to find the spots on here and double up on them before I put the last color on there. So I'm finding each individual spot, and what I'm not doing is leaving the paint to bubble. See, I'll do this here so you see it. You see it? You see the difference? I've loaded it into the piece itself. That way it's just a small sheen, but it's not something, it's not like a drop. Because what happens is when it dries, it actually, you can see that, those little sides on that part once it dries. And it's just like little, it's pools of paint. And it doesn't look very nice. Don't get me wrong, if that's what you're looking for, as far as the pools of paint go, then go for it. But that's not the look I want right now. I want this paint to just blend in to the background here. And again, you see what I'm doing is I'm simply covering the dark spots. I'm not painting the whole thing. I don't need to paint the whole thing with this right at the moment. I need the whites, the dark spots, the dark black spots to be lighter. So I'm actually, again, just going over those little spots, double dab, and I'm doing brush strokes over it. Now, once I do the last, this is easier to do the way I'm doing it, only because, one, it preserves paint. It's not me just unnecessarily going over it. it'll give me it's more effective this way. And like I said, I don't want it to overpower what I'm doing. So I'm only doing small dabs, little by little, and I'm blending it in to my canvas, so to speak, but into the actual display. So you see, taking my dab, I'm covering it here, and then, you know, if you do makeup, this is the same similar concept as if you have a blemish on your face and something. I don't wear makeup. It's one of those. My skin is hypersensitive, so I can't put anything on my face really, but this is a good restoration of this concept. I have another project that I'm working on. It's a thrift shop concept, so I'll post that too, so you guys can see my madness and what I'm up to. If you notice, I'm actually not going sideways. I'm actually going up and down. Reason for that is because wood, if you can see here, wood has those lines going up and down. It's a lesson for those people. When you do earrings or anything paint wise, you don't want to go against the grain. So when you go sideways, you're going against the grain, and it takes away from that wood effect. So whenever you're painting something wood or anything in general, you want to go, particularly wood for the most part, you want to go against the grain when you're painting wood. I mean, you want to go with the grain, not against the grain. I apologize. So depending on which direction the wood grain, which is these little lines on here, is going, that's the direction your brush strokes should be. It should not be anything outside of that, because then what you'll do is you'll take away from that wood grain effect. So I'm almost done here for the most part, trying to do my little patch work here. Also, I'm not doing a lot of paint, not just what, as I said before, to blotch fix, but also so it dries faster. I don't want to wait 50 hours for this to dry properly, because I have another coat I'm going to work on, and I want that to be proper. There we go. So you see what I'm doing here? It's a little, see? Now, you can't see the spots, but you can see where I painted. Now you see the texture of the paint? You could see it goes with the grain. It's not against it. There you go. See that little effect right there? So that's something, you see what I'm doing. And the concept, again, is just to go with the grain, not against it. So I think I did a pretty good job here, covering up these little spots for now. And while that's drying, I'm going to change my brush. Let's see here. I'm going to make judgment on whether or not I want a bigger brush or a smaller brush to do the last part. A bigger brush does it covers more ground, but it also has like a painted perspective. I really want more of the lines to show in this project, so I'm not too sure at the moment what brush I'm gonna use. You hear all the rustling in my craft room. There we go. I'm searching for my paintbrushes. There we are. Okay. That's a very large paintbrush, isn't it? But I think this might work. Let's see. Something a little wider. There we go. So, again, it's just a matter of choosing which brush to go with. And I'm doing a tester piece, obviously you can see it's only a little dab here. But I'm doing a tester perspective here. And I'm just going up and down. See, it's on my brush. There we go. Just a little bit on there. And then I'm going to brush in. And again, I'm going up and down because that's the effect I want in this project. And like I said, I'm not using a lot, just a little. Because I don't want to overpower the project. And as you can see in here, you can still see the markings of the wood grain. So the concept is here. I'm going to add more of my brown, a lot more. Waste not, want not. And then I'm going to add my effect, my antique effect here to the paint. As you remember, it says here, paint plus medium equals effect. So I add the paint plus the medium there. All right. Paint plus medium, paint plus medium. There you go. And I'm going to add a little more medium to my paint. Now obviously I might not be able to flip this over after I'm done, but at least I know the effect will be there. There we go. And let that sit. You see, I'm not brushing it in there. I'm simply dabbing. And like I said, I'm going with the grain, not against it. There we go. Now don't take into account this does work both ways, or multiple applications of it. It won't just be the one. I am using it for now, but I can in fact use it for multiple times. So in other words, if this weathers out eventually later on, then what I can do is utilize another coat, another effect, or just another color. And see, I'm getting multiple uses out of my display. Now, what I'm doing is reinforcing that green. So I'm doing small strokes up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. And the reason I'm continuously doing this is that way it dries in that motion. Up and down, up and down, up, and you see, you're starting to see that effect in there. See? So it's not taking away. You see, it's a clean sheen. Get a clean sheen. Anyway. Let that sit. There we go. And the patches you see, that little white, is actually the paint that I used earlier to cover up those black spots. So that's what's there. But there you go. My edges are still in the white there, but it's a beautiful painted effect on the sides, so I don't mind it. There we go. And a couple little dabs on the edges. Again, just going with the grain. And be mindful not to touch your painted project here. There you go. There you are. You see my paint all over the place. This is finished. I'll post pictures up. The before obviously might be available because I already painted over it. But I will paint an after. I will photograph an after, so you see what it looks like now. Okay, so see you soon. Thank you for joining me. It's been a ball or a blast. I have paint everywhere, so I'm gonna have to clean up. What you see in front of you is my crime scene plastic. I call it crime scene plastic only because it helps with the splatter. You see the paint splatter all over the place. What I realized working in my craft room and painting initially is that I'm not paying attention because I'm in creative mode, but the plastic, or as far as the paint, goes everywhere. The splash, you don't really pay attention to it, and when you're creating, you're just like, you're painting, you're in like creation. So I'm not really paying attention to all the sidebars that's going on, and unfortunately a lot of project casualties of paint war, so to speak, were definitely affected. I had product that had paint on it, and I was like, oh no, I have to redo it. But I do the crime scene, my crime scene plastic now when I work on projects. That way I can work in my craft room instead of finding another location to work from. And it's clean. Once you're done, you just pick it up and toss it or reuse it, however which way. And it's actually a plastic trash bag. So I'll do a Pinterest. I'll put it on Pinterest. That way you know it's crime scene plastic for home painters. Okay? So thank you for joining me. I'm super excited having you. And enjoy the rest of your day, evening, morning. Good morning for those who are morning. Good night for those who are late night. Good afternoon for those who are having lunch. And know that this has been a craftastic experience, and I am your humble instructor, photographer, craft coordinator, artist, designer, KRAFTYZEE. Visit my website at www.kraftyzee.com. You can follow me on Instagram, which is at Krafty, KRAFTYZEE, or you can follow me on Twitter, my Facebook. All of them are my hashtags, which is the same link, which is at KRAFTYZEE. Thank you for joining me, and see you soon. Have a craftastic day once again.